Doctor Strange is the latest from the MCU and is actually the 14th installment. Can you believe it? We've had 14 Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. That's insane. But this one is the 14th, and now it's introducing magic into the MCU, and Benedict Cumberbatch stars as the Sorcerer Supreme. So because this review is a little bit late, I'm going to be kind of brief on the synopsis here. So Dr. Stephen Strange is an extremely arrogant neurosurgeon. He's brilliant, he does a great job with surgery, he has extremely steady hands. One day he gets into a car accident that basically ruins his career, ruins his hands, so he no longer has the mobility and functions that he used to. So what he decides to do is he decides to try and figure out a way to fix his hands and get back into practicing medicine. Basically the Western medication fails him, so he decides to go east. He travels to like India or something, Middle Eastern sort of area, trying to find some more spiritual healing after he hears some rumors. Then he gets introduced to like this magical realm thing. He gets really into magic, and he pretty much becomes part of a war that he didn't know was happening, that a lot of the world doesn't know is happening, and that's a war with magic. And he has to help stop one of these, not only to get magic to help fix his hands, but also to help stop a former sorcerer who's on the rampage trying to destroy the earth, or in his mind, save it. So basically there's a lot of hype around Doctor Strange. Everyone is super excited about it. It's going to be something new, something fresh for the MCU. Currently it boasts about a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which is extremely fresh. Something that Marvel, I don't think Marvel's dipped below like the 80s in their MCU films. Maybe like Thor the Dark World or something like that may have gone a little bit lower, but that's really about it. Or maybe Iron Man 2. But maybe that's about it. They really haven't gotten any low ratings. Everyone is on the Marvel train. So basically what you probably want to know is it any good? In my opinion, not really. I mean, don't get me wrong, the film is very, very beautiful. It's very visually stunning. But other than that, it really doesn't offer a whole lot. It introduces magic to the MCU and it looks great. But other than that, it's kind of just a basic origin story that's not that entertaining. Let me first start off by saying, before I get into some more in-depth stuff about this movie, is that I have never read a Doctor Strange comic, so I am completely unfamiliar with the character. So when I went into this movie, I didn't really have any expectations. I wasn't like, I really hope that I get to see this, that I hope this is the villain, that they touch on this, they tease this, whatever. I didn't care. I was really just looking for the connections to the MCU and hoping for a good movie. And it was okay, I just didn't think it was as good as everyone on the Marvel bandwagon thinks it is. First off, let's talk about the acting. Now, of course, we have to start with the title character, Doctor Strange, and the one that played him was Benedict Cumberbatch. Now, Benedict Cumberbatch has slowly been introduced to just about everywhere. This guy is in so many projects, I don't even know if he keeps track. I don't know if he sleeps. He might be a vampire. I'm not entirely sure. So seeing him in the bigger role wasn't that surprising, but it did concern me. I did make a video about this a while ago. And the thing that most concerned me about him taking on the role of Doctor Strange was his accent. Because in promotional stuff, there was very little of him talking. Almost none of him talking. In fact, it was mostly like exposition people, other people talking. So it was interesting to see how he was going to play a major role, and with his British accent, playing an American character. In my opinion, he did okay. He did fine. His accent was fine, but it wasn't his accent necessarily that got me into thinking that he wasn't necessarily right for the part. It was more of his enunciation. Now, a lot of actors who switch between different accents have a little bit of an issue with this because there's different enunciations for different places, different accent types. So for example, Benedict Cumberbatch does something very odd. Instead of speaking into a normal American accent, which actually Tom Holland does an amazing job at, who's playing Spider-Man in the MCU, he's British as well, in case you didn't know that. I think his English is fantastic. But Benedict Cumberbatch does something very odd, and when you really watch this film and you listen to him doing in this accent, you really notice it. So basically this is what he does. For example, let's take any standard American English sentence. Since for this review, let's just say, I love Marvel Comics. So let's say you say, I love Marvel Comics. Now, Benedict Cumberbatch's enunciation, he flattens out his voice very, very much. So, I'm terrible at British accents, so I don't want to attempt that on camera. But what he does is he flattens out his voice, he kind of lowers his tone, and sort of adds a little bit more gruffness to his voice to try and mask his accent. So say, I love Marvel Comics. He'll say, I love Marvel Comics. Do you kind of see how it's kind of hard to hear it, but he lowers his tone, he drops it a little bit, and he uses a little bit more gruff to mask that accent. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's fine, but to carry for an hour and 40 minutes, 2-hour movie, after a while, for someone like me at least, I really noticed it because I'm a big fan of Sherlock, which is where I pretty much know Cumberbatch from, and you get used to that English accent, so it's very difficult to translate one to the other. He did okay, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with his accent, it's just something that sort of nitpicked that I noticed and how he deconstructs his voice and the way he does his accents. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just something that I noticed. Other than that, I think he did a great job in the role. I think he was able to really play this arrogant, basically asshole for the most part. He had little jokes here and there that kind of fell flat, and I think that necessarily didn't have to relate to his tone and his accent, but maybe just how Benedict Cumberbatch carries himself. He carries himself very uptight, sort of straightforward, nothing too flashy about him. So in order for him to play a little bit looser character, like Stephen Strange, with being able to relate to people or crack jokes every now and again, because Doctor Strange is essentially like the Tony Stark of magic instead of being tech. So it's kind of interesting to see him do that and sort of try and play off like he's this fun, sort of lovable type of character when he plays typically very well the very straight-laced, show no emotion type. As for the rest of the cast, they did pretty well as well. I mean, there weren't really any standouts. The only other standout, in my opinion, was the other Benedict of this movie, which was Benedict Wong, who played Wong. The only other actor that I really liked in this movie, other than Benedict Wong, was Chiwetel Ejiofor. I don't know if I said that wrong. I'm sorry if I butchered his name. Please don't kill me in the comments or anything like that. He has a hard name to pronounce. But what I really liked about him playing Mordor was that he had a couple of fight scenes. And what really excited me about that was that a long time ago, I don't remember when this movie came out, there's a movie called Red Belt where he invented like this fighting sport game type of thing. And he kind of got to fight in that. So being able to see him fight again was kind of cool. I like that a lot. It was a nice little Easter egg teaser, I guess, for those of us who know his work. And I like that a lot. It was kind of interesting to see him fighting again. And he does really good, like, sort of straight-laced, has some dry humor, stuff like that. A lot of good things. Where they took his character, I wasn't that excited about it. Like, I'm not, like, itching for Doctor Strange 2 to see more of what's going to happen with his character and all the development characters and all that stuff. Not that excited about it, but I mean, he still did a good job. As for like Rachel McAdams, who plays the main love interest, Christine, again, okay, she still had her moments of comedy here and there. She wasn't in it that much. She sort of was not necessarily a throwaway character, more of a transitional character. Like if he needed her for a plot device, it sort of worked, but other than that, she wasn't really integral to the story, other than something that relates him back to the Western world. Now, as for the villain played by Mads Mikkelsen, it was, once again, Marvel comes up with the pretty much blandest villains I think I may have ever seen. He was okay. You're definitely more interested in the heroes than ever the villains. The villains always tend to fall flat, and I kind of blame Tom Hiddleston for setting the bar so high with Loki and like Thor and the Avengers that at this point it's more interesting to see the heroes fight the heroes, like in Captain America Civil War, than it is to actually watch the heroes fight a villain. So it's kind of interesting how that whole thing is sort of worked out. But hopefully, I'm really crossing my fingers here that Thanos is going to be a really, really good villain that we're going to see in Infinity War, that he's going to be able to at least rival what Loki created, or at least be as big of a deal as we are hoping. I'm putting all my eggs in that basket. That's really what I'm hoping for at this point. The story was definitely kind of bland. I mean, it's your basic origin story. We had to really set up the character of Doctor Strange in order to bring him into the MCU. He's not really a throwaway character. He's not like that Spider-Man character that you already know his origins. You've seen Uncle Ben die twice, and you don't need that to be explained again. You get the origin of Spider-Man. So I get that we had to have an origin sort of discovery sort of thing as to Doctor Strange is, in order for him to be a bigger part in future MCU movies. I just think that at this point Marvel's formula is so cookie cutter that even when they introduce something new and fun like magic, it's still the same stuff, just in a different packaging. However, as far as the visuals go, it was absolutely beautiful. It was stunning. It was this massive Inception-esque sort of style with like the city collapsing on itself, and it would have like these beautiful visuals as far as the magic goes. That was all really, really cool, very stunning, very beautiful. Everyone that I've seen a review for this movie for says see it in IMAX in 3D. You don't have to see it in IMAX in 3D. That's like another like $10. I'm kind of cheap when it comes to movies. You can see the same movie. It's all going to be the same experience. I'm sure it's great in IMAX and 3D, but I still sort of had this kaleidoscope effect where there are certain scenes when you're watching these beautiful visual effects, beautiful, stunning colors, stunning visuals, stunning everything. But when you're watching it, there's got to be a point where you're like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. There are several scenes where stuff starts collapsing and making layers on layers, and this and that's happening on all directions, and it's folding in on itself. And I just had no idea what I was looking at. And I'm the type of person that, in order to better understand a movie, what's happening, I need to know sort of a sense of space as well as what's going on with the characters. So if stuff's folding on itself, changing left and right, kind of like Ant-Man. If you saw Ant-Man when he goes into like super molecule mode, whatever they call it, when he goes extra small to where like it's like in another dimension. It's like that scene, but for like an hour and 40 minutes. There's a lot of those types of scenes. And after a while, it sort of gets annoying to watch, where I get it, like it's supposed to be magical, things are happening left and right. It's beautiful to look at, but after a while, it's just sort of, I don't know what I'm looking at. And I don't like that very much. And I think there's a scene in an epic rap battles of Mozart versus Skrillex, which I'm going to play a little clip right here. And this pretty much sums up how I felt watching the movie.
What kind of drugs does it take to enjoy this? I have no idea!
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful and stunning to look at. It's very visually entertaining, but at the same time, I don't know what I'm looking at, and that doesn't help me enjoy this movie anymore. Now, I'm sure it sounds like I'm hitting this movie pretty hard, but I had kind of a higher expectations about this movie, considering all the hype around it, just the word of mouth saying how amazing of a visual movie it was. I mean, yeah, it's visually stunning, but you kind of have to have more than just visuals to make a great movie. And at the same time, I think some people are still riding that Marvel train where they can do no wrong. Yeah, they figured out the formula, but at the same time, they have to change it up. And just by making it look pretty doesn't mean that the packaging is fancier, doesn't mean what's inside is any different. So I think that's kind of where they have to change it up a little bit. But don't get me wrong, I think it's a perfectly fine movie. I just thought it was sort of okay. I don't necessarily think it's as high in the MCU rankings as people are trying to put it. The grade I'm going to give Doctor Strange is a C+. Like I said, this was just okay. It wasn't super great. It wasn't like Guardians of the Galaxy, like explosiveness as far as a surprise. It wasn't like Marvel's like Captain America Civil War. It wasn't like that big movie. It was a little bit lower. I'm not going to say it's like a Thor 2 or like an Iron Man 2. Not quite that low. But sort of middle of the pack. It wasn't that exhilarating, but it was still a perfectly fine film to watch. Maybe I just need to see it again, get a little bit more understanding about the character. And by the way, that reminds me, I forgot to mention that in this film, they sort of did something odd, where, not in the film necessarily, but the marketing. Like, it didn't seem like there was a lot of promotional material. They put out a trailer like early Comic-Con, even before that. I don't even remember how long ago it was. They put out a trailer for it, but they didn't really do any promotion for it until maybe like exactly a month right before the movie started. Like Suicide Squad started like a year in advance, like a year plus in advance with their massive marketing campaign. Not to say that it was, a fantastic movie either, but it was kind of interesting that Marvel waited so long in order to do their main promotional material, because once the month started, just before the film, the promotion was everywhere. Every time I would go on my Facebook, every time I would go on my Instagram, every time I would go here, there, website, always an advertisement, always a video. Every time I click on a YouTube video, there's an ad just before every video, and guess what video it is? Doctor Strange. So it was kind of interesting on their marketing. Like, why would you wait till exactly a month before and then really do your marketing? I don't know, I just thought that was something really interesting Also, I don't know how they're gonna play off like toys and stuff for this. It's a lot easier for like Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. Are they gonna give kids like a cape and like a little goatee for like toys? I'm not entirely sure. That's not my department. Anyway, I thought the movie was okay, but it didn't blow me away. So guys, that's my review for Doctor Strange. Have you seen it? What did you think? Did you think that it was as amazing as the other MCU movies? Was it as big of a surprise as, say, Guardians of the Galaxy? Or was it just sort of okay? Where does it rank in your MCU list? Let me know what your thoughts are, as well as, what you think about Doctor Strange as a character, what new things they can add to the MCU to really make it interesting. I'm really hoping Black Panther and Spider-Man are really the ones that are going to cement the MCU into a new level, a new phase. So I'm hoping those two are going to be the ones that set the bar even higher for the MCU. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, my next video is actually my 100th video. I'm sort of doing a 5 facts about me, fun little thank you, whatever you want to call it. Maybe a little bit of Q&A, so if you feel like dropping a couple of questions as well down below, I would appreciate it, and you maybe even be in my 100th video. You never know. So be sure to do that as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You really are the best. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.